Standing 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing more than 250 pounds and possessing wolf-like hunger on the football field, Dan Cody is a quarterback's worst nightmare. The former Ada Cougar is considered one of the best defensive ends in the country and has built a tremendous legacy for himself at the University of Oklahoma. Professional football will soon come calling, a true testament to how far Dan has come in a game with which he was never that enamored.
You know, I grew up out on the ranch. I don't think we had cable until I was even in junior high. I was never really into football. I mean, I wasn't ever like not into it, but I didn't watch it that much on TV.
Dan's exposure to the game of football started quietly enough in a small Oklahoma town better known for its coal mining history than its athletics. But the seeds of his future success had been planted.
At Colgate, when I was going the summer before my sixth grade year, they started a Pee Wee team. It was fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. And sixth grade year was my first year, but it's your first year of football. It's kind of hard to, you know what I mean, to really count it as your first year, I guess, because you don't really know anything. But yeah, sixth grade year is the first year for me to put on full pads.
Well, he played, Pee Wee ball, but I don't think there was as much emphasis on grade school football like there is now. And certainly when he got in junior high, he played just like everyone else did, but he wasn't pushed to be a star per se. He wasn't considered a star. He wasn't considered any better than anyone else. He was taller than anyone else, and that made him stand out, but other than that.
Because of Dan's size and natural athletic ability, he continued to play football at Colgate High School. Before his junior year, however, his family moved to Ada, and he found himself stepping into the state's most successful high school football program. The move proved to be the key turning point in Dan's football career.
I think the real difference was the program here in Ada, and our school system that prepared kids to go to the next level, and the football program, of course, is really good here, but the community, I think the community makes the program, and I think that put him in a position where he could be in a high-profile situation, and I don't think that would have happened in a lot of other places.
Because the Ada Cougar football program is designed to be bigger than any individual, Dan didn't necessarily stand out. He was a solid, effective player on the field, but more importantly, he learned how a real team operates. More than anything, the Cougar program prepared him for success on the next level.
The way we worked in the offseason, I mean, at Ada, there was never a downtime. In the winter, you always came down there after classes. I mean, granted, you may not be getting up early in the morning, but, I mean, you were coming down there after classes, you were running, you were lifting, you were out there as soon as it warmed up. You didn't have pads on, but you were running plays, just like we do here. The way we worked there, I mean, I don't think there's any question that, it really helped set a nice base, the fundamentals of how to do things the right way when I came here.
It was OU co-defensive coordinator Mike Stoops who first saw Dan play. He was watching an Ada Ardmore game and was surprised by Dan's performance. Dan later accepted a scholarship to play for the Sooners, and thanks in large part to the teaching and coaching at Ada High School, he made the transition to Division I college football rather easily. At OU, Dan quickly formed a bond with Coach Mike Stoops.
Coach Mike especially is a guy that I had a lot of trouble adjusting to when I first got here. Is just his mannerisms, and and it's hard to read through the lines with him just because he's so intense. But once you realize that every word that comes out of his mouth, he means. When he's giving us the scouting report, and we're talking about going and playing Texas or O State, you can just see it in his eyes and the spit come out of the corner of his mouth and his lip quiver, and you can see how mad he is. You just believe every word he says, and it's so easy to go play for somebody like that. And be able to play for him is his experience that I talk about daily.
Dan earned playing time with the Sooners right away. He was one of only 3 true freshmen to see any playing time during the 2000 season, even making an impact in the national championship game. Dan seemed to be on top of the world, but something wasn't quite right.
It was just my second year here. I quit. I hate to say it just because I was depressed. That has something to do with it. But there's so many intangibles and factors that go into something like that, and your vision's always clouded. But you know, I just knew to compete at this level, my head and heart wasn't going to be into it, and it takes that kind of commitment.
During that time, he had to find himself, had to, as he said, things happened so fast and he lost who he was, I think, and felt like a thing, perhaps more than a person.
You know, there was times I had all kinds of spells where I didn't want to be a part of it and I didn't want to do it. And I don't know if that was because of depression, but for whatever rhyme or reason, I didn't. But no matter how tired of it I got, I never quit working hard. I mean, on the days when I got up feeling the saddest for the days I worked the hardest, because I mean, if you're going to do something like this, that's the kind of commitment it takes. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, but you still just got to work hard.
It was that brief separation from the game that helped Dan decide exactly how much it meant to him. Fortunately, others seemed to already know what it meant to him and made sure he never strayed too far away.
Coach Stoops had Dan's mobile number, and he'd call him, and I'm sure trying to egg him on a little bit and keep him focused and interested in what they were doing. And other coaches call us, and Dan, and the players were really good to him. But I don't think they would ever let a player fall through the cracks if he was in needed help, no matter whether he was good or not. And I think they're very sincere about that.
As the season wore on and the season came around, I knew it was my place just because, you know, the friends I developed, and, you know, even when I came back, I developed so many more friends and relationships that I know it was going to last for a long time.
After his return, Dan went on to build a spectacular career at OU. During his college career, the Sooner defense has consistently ranked among the top in the nation, and Dan has earned an armful of individual accolades. Although Dan credits the coaches and his teammates for a lot of his success, his own determination ultimately drove him to the top.
A lot of schools will let guys not, I hate to use the word freestyle, but a lot of times do their own thing. And, you know, the biggest thing coming here is just being disciplined. You got to be disciplined no matter how enticing something looks. If you think you can make that play, in all reality, if all your fundamentals of what you've been coached are telling you something different, you can't do it. And you'll always be right because, you know, the coaching here is as good as it gets.
Rufus is going to tell one of the ends to go over to the other side. Okay. Just go to the other edge and run. So don't freak out if he tells you to do that.
The National Football League has taken notice of Dan's abilities, and there is a very strong possibility he will become a first-round draft choice in 2005. A career in professional football certainly interests him, and he is preparing himself for it.
All these things that I'm about to go through, I mean, there's just a few I mean, you gotta know how to filter all that stuff out. I mean, you got to train right, and when it comes time for your combines or, you know, whatever it is you can do, your pro days and whenever you're working out for teams and interviews, those are the three most important things. And it's not so much interviews with the media. I mean, you got to handle all that stuff well, but you got to know what's most important, you know, when the time comes. And you got to know how to be a good judge of character and who your friends are, because, you know, it's unbelievable the people that are already starting to come out of the woodwork at this point in time and nothing's even happened yet.
When he came back, he realized he saw other players leaving the program successfully, you might say, in other words, going on to the next level. And I think his confidence grew, and I think he began to see that he could do the same thing.
You know, the NFL is not for everybody, but, you know, I look at it just the same way as, you know, when I came back from when I quit is, you know, you go out there and you're going to work as hard as you can and you're going to make the most of it, you know, and you got to be able to open your head up to coaching and take advice from people, you know, people that are going to be able to help you and try to make the most of it you can. It's not for everybody. I mean, there's such a minute percentage of people that go to the NFL and have these real blossoming, successful careers. So, you know, I'm not preparing myself for failure, but, you know, I'm just going to go into it with the attitude. I'm going to work as hard as I can, and whatever I can take away from it, I will.
Amazingly, Dan could be the second Cougar in 3 years to be drafted by the NFL. Jeremy Shockey, Dan's former Ada High teammate, was a high draft pick in 2002.
Hopefully, I'll be a first rounder and then have 2 first rounders within, like, you know, 3 years of one another from the same high school. It doesn't happen very often.
Ada does provide a good foundation for that, and because of their work ethic and training, and they just have done the right things all the way back from Craig McBroom through Larry McBroom. They just do things right there, and I'm not surprised that these kids like Dan Cody and Jeremy Shockey go on to blossom in college and go on to bigger and better things.
Jeremy Shockey has already been through many of the high-profile experiences that the National Football League brings with it, and Dan hopes to learn a little about those experiences in the near future.
I'll never be able to duplicate the football I played that I played here. I mean, I've seen the best 5 years of college football I've ever seen and played with the best players, some of the best players college football has ever seen from that regard too. So I'm just going, when I get to the next level, it's just about who's going to pay me the most money.
This summer, I was quite amused. He had a piece of notebook paper taped up to his bathroom mirror, and it said, "Stay focused." And on the S, there was a $sign drawn through it. So I think this year, I think he knew he truly, beginning at the beginning of the summer, had to stay focused if he were going to achieve the goals he wanted to achieve.
With fame and fortune knocking on his door, Dan remains remarkably grounded. He carries with him the fundamental values necessary for success, not only in football, but also in life.
Dan will tell you like it is. He'll tell you what's on his mind, and he will shoot straight with you. Great kid, great personality. His teammates, I've talked to several of them, and they just love him to death because you know exactly what you're getting with Dan Cody. His coaches just praise his work ethic. I look forward to seeing him playing on Sundays.
Like a lot of people who have success, it may look easy when we are viewing it from this vantage point, but over the years he's put in, as do all athletes who are successful, you put in so much time and effort, and of course Dan had to deal with the depression and overcome that too. So it's been a long haul to get there, and I'm real happy for him, and I hope he remembers where he came from and how he got there, and I think he will.
You can't look too far ahead. I mean, you can't look to yesterday, you can't look tomorrow. You just got to live, you just got to grind each day. Each day you just got to pour it all into it because, it's just the way I grew as a player, it's unbelievable. It's how much I grew each year as a player. And it's just a credit to working hard. It really is. If you're a part of a system you believe in, coaches you believe in, and the teammates and the friends you make, if you work hard and just try to be the best person you can be, and everything's so, I hate to say cliche, but it's just so typical, but it's so true at the same time. I mean, you stay out there every day, and you feel you got to be honest with yourself. If you're honest with yourself, you're working as hard as you can, you're doing everything you can, then there's no reason to be upset or unhappy with what you have.